I hope all of you have done the assignment. For all three sections, we have made the common assignment. I hope all of you have completed the assignment and submitted. But still, some of you may have some doubts while solving, or some of you may have not submitted. You know, I just wanted to discuss the same and then push you with some kind of confidence, because the questions which are being covered as part of the assignment one are given. It is prepared by me only. So I have prepared this assignment one and as well the assignment two, rather, right, which have been taken from the question bank that I have prepared. That question bank covers all possible questions, which are asked for the past 10 years, rather, right, and could be asked in further, covering all possible questions from your syllabi of your 5 units is what basically the question bank is prepared. And the question bank was also published in the classroom. I hope you may have seen it. Or you can go to my uh, website. There you can see and you can download. Those who are from the other section, if they want to download the same, they can download it from my website as well. Can you see our college website? So if you go to departments in our college website, there you can find computer science and engineering. There you can find faculty and staff, right? If you go there, you can find my name here, Muhammad Abdul Azim. So if you go there, you can find my website, and this is the YouTube channel. In my YouTube channel, all the lectures that I have recorded being updated or uploaded here. The other section people as well, you can watch these videos. Okay, this is my YouTube channel. You can see all videos are available here on programming languages. If you go to playlist, you can find only programming languages. Otherwise, it is openly available. So you can see here right from the first unit till 5 units, all recorded lectures are available here. This is the review on programming language unit 1. All possible questions from unit 1 covered are reviewed in this particular session. You can I just click on this. You can probably watch it. Yes, can you? Yes. Are you able to access it? I hope you are able to access my channel, right? Anyway, so this was my YouTube channel, and then this is my website. If you go there, here you can find PL. Can all of you able to see it? Yes. go to older posts, probably you can find PL programming lab. Here you can find PPL lecture notes. Can you able to see this? Yes, ma'am. So here 2021 assignment 1 is there, and assignment 2 is even not. But you can see important questions here you can find. Can you see this? Yes. So you can download from here as well. All possible questions covering all 5 units of the syllabus is available here. Unit 1, 2, and then unit 3, 4, 5. Right? So 1, 2 short questions and long questions. Then 3, 4, 5 short questions and long questions. Right? All possible questions being prepared as part of this particular syllabus. You can download it from the my website from Blogger, and you can probably solve all this. And this is my YouTube channel, as I said. There you can go and then listen the lectures available for all the topics of all 5 units of programming languages. Fine. You have about 1 week time, so in whichever the topic you are having any doubt, like for example language categories and implementation, this is a video on language categories and implementation. Programming environment, this is the video. Introduction to programming languages, concepts of programming languages, syntax and semantics, grammar and definition and derivations, parse trees, and BNF, EBNF grammar, operator precedent and associativity rules, semantic and attribute grammar, review on the first unit, then introduction to data type, primitive and non-primitive, arrays, records, recursive grammar, doubts and clarification on EBNF and grammar and all. This is basically discussed after you have received certain tools from you and given a detailed discussion on grammar and all, right? So this is about pointer references. Then you have name variable, binding and all, control statements, overview of programming languages. So all videos are available pertaining to all topics of your subject. So you can go to my YouTube channel. You can you can subscribe the channel. If you subscribe the channel, I am uploading, of course, new videos which I am taking in recent time, like C++. I was conducting, and C++ videos are also available here. Fine. Anyway, you can probably get new notifications every time a new video is uploaded in my YouTube channel if you subscribe it, right? And press a bell icon. There's a bell icon for notification. Fine. So this is for your kind reference. I am showing you all this because you may have some doubt and I may not be available, or any of our teacher probably are busy with doing some kind of work. So you can go to these recorded lectures all the time and you can listen the videos. You will mostly get your doubts being cleared. Fine. So, but today, as a part of a review and a remedial class, I just wanted to discuss the first 2 units. Okay, today and tomorrow I'll be conducting classes for you, review classes for you. Today, now 11:40, 12:40 I have, and tomorrow I have second hour, that is 10:35 to 11:35. Okay, so I want all of you to join and get benefit out of it. Okay, and this is an interactive session. This is a review class. See, the syllabus is already completed for all of you. Yes or no? And doubts also being cleared before itself. I had some interactive classes. I had some doubts classes. I had some where I have cleared your doubt. But before the exam, what is more important, and if you have any doubts as well, you can always ask me. You can always raise your query. So these 2 sessions are important for you to I just wanted to take a review of all what you have studied before as well, because you are having engaged, you are having been engaged with the fourth semester, I hope, right? And the different kind of subjects you were studying to bring you back into the third semester and PL subject especially, right? I just wanted to give you a glance of what we have that studied that, right? So by just recapping all the questions that probably are helpful for your exam. I want one of you to please respond. Only 21 students have joined so far. Anybody is from first section in this group? Yeah, roll number 23, 33. Roll number 23 is there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, see, probably your teacher also must have shared all the information, but then if you want, something more, you can probably have access to this material as well, which I published in my classroom. Anyway, class 3 people are having access to my classroom anyway. But then class 1 and class 2, there is section A and section 2 people. If you want to have access to my classroom, you can always have access to it. Here I have published the all possible external question paper. All external previous year question papers are here, with key are published, right? I've discussed the same in my classes, of which recorded lectures are available in the YouTube channel. For section 3 anyway, they have attended, but I am talking about section 1 and section 2 people. This is one of the question paper asked in 2016. The key of the same is discussed here, right? This is a key paper which I have published here, but its recorded lecture is also available in YouTube channel. And if you go there, you can probably listen the discussion on this particular, and I have a couple of solutions of question papers discussed in previous classes for section 3. This is 2017, I think, right? This is a key for 2017 question paper. This is available as a recorded lecture in my YouTube channel. You can probably go and then discuss. Similarly, I have few more question papers here, external question papers. If you put a request, I will grant it. You can have access for the same. I have given the link of the same to your teachers. They may publish in your classrooms. So once they publish, you can have access to it. If you put a request, I grant it. Fine. So this is assignment 2 that given for section 3. I hope it's the same for all, right? And I have published the material as well here. And on some Python, I have put the case studies, programs in Python, Ada, and all are available here. They are published. So you can see this is all the material, unit wise is available. Unit 3 material, this is unit 4, this is unit 5, this is unit 2, this is unit 1. Okay. So this is unit 1 material. Fine. And this is assignment 1, and unit wise assignment is also there. And lecture wise questions I used to post in the class, and then used to get the answers from the students. So they are also available here. You can try those quizzes for your practice. Okay. So this is all for you for section 1 and 2, because if you want to have access, you can rather access this and practice. Fine. Quizzes are available here. You can see, right? Quiz 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and certain questions were asked in classes, learning questions. Okay? Questions on running material, right? Fine. This is anyway for your reference. And these are the lectures posted. We had conducted about some 40 to 40 classes, right? So for all those lectures are available in this classroom as well. Instead of searching in the YouTube, you can directly straight away go ahead with the recorded lecture from the classroom itself, right? These are all the lectures which I have uploaded in the Google Classroom. Topic wise, you can see, right, function programming, concurrency, and oops, these are all. View more, if you say, you will find all material here, starting from first lecture onwards, right? You find all this material here. Okay. So now let us come to our discussion. I wanted to discuss unit 1 and 2 in these two classes, today's and tomorrow's classes, to just brush you up and take a glance on the same. Can you see my screen? Assignment 1, are you able to see? Yes. So, see, it's an interactive session. I want the answers from your side. At least section 3 people, I can expect the answers. Instead of I give the answers, you please give the answers for the same. If not, I'll probably give it, of course, right? Only 21 students have joined so far. Okay. Yeah, Nitish Rao is there. Shreya Sri. Let's start with long answer questions first. Explain the reasons for studying concepts of programming language. I have a detailed video available on this, okay, in YouTube channel. You can probably reasoning for studying the concepts of programming language. See, we have one lecture. This is that, right? Concepts of programming language. Please go through this video. So I want you to go through this video. Material is anyway available, unit wise, which I have shown you here, are through my Blockcom website, also you can probably download from there as well, right? Next, coming to second question, discuss language evaluation criteria. For this also there is a separate video I have available. You can probably go to that video. Language evaluation criteria, here you can find. The language categories and implementation you have. This one only is telling, I think, probably the language evaluation criteria. Can you please tell me from section 3, any one of you, what is the language evaluation criteria? Yes. Readability, writability, reliability, yes or no? Please respond. You're not interacting with me. So it is all discussed in detail there. Probably you can see, fine, in that video, and material is available, of course, right? Next question is analyze and explain the influence on language design. What are the influences? Can any one of you tell this? Influences on language design. Yes. I think one of this video is covering actually programming environment, probably. Yes. Can any one of you tell what are the influences on language design? Yes.
It's mostly
Programming.
computer
Yeah.
architecture,
Yes, exactly.
architecture and programming methodologies.
Exactly. That video is telling the same thing. Programming methodologies, and then the computer architecture, right? So the first ever computer architecture is designed by whom? Yes. Which is being taken as the base for the subsequent architecture. Is von Neumann architecture. Yes, exactly. Right. So that is about this. And then we have described implementation methods of programming language. There is a separate video for that. Explain both compiled and interpreted. There is a separate video for this. You please go through it. And I would like to discuss the problems instead of the theoretical question. For theory, you can go through that videos, right? Can any one of you tell me the differences between the compiled and interpreted implementation languages? Yes. You're studying it right from the first year also, right? This compiled, interpreted kind of concept. So what is C language? Is it a compiled or interpreted?
It's compiled.
Yes, exactly. What is HTML?
It is rendered in browser.
It's an interpreted. All internet-based programming languages are interpreted. You just keep in your mind that all internet-based. Basically HTML, JavaScript. Java is a hybrid kind, okay? Compiled and interpreted, okay? You take VB script, ActionScript, or you have React.js nowadays. Nowadays, dot programming are all languages which are being used for net and mobile kind of thing. They're all interpreted based only, right? C++. C++ is a compiled, right? Compiled programming language. Okay, so what is the difference then? Is any one of you? Some differences? Compiled programming languages are faster in execution. Why? Because the entire code will be sent for once, right? For the execution. So the whole code will be sent for the execution. As a reason why the system will have the entire code is ready for the execution, so it can execute it immediately. Whereas in interpreted, it sends the code to the system line by line. Okay, because of which it is little bit slower, but then the advantage from the advantage point of view, if you see in compile, what happens, the checking is going to be done. Okay, the code testing, what you call it as, right, is going to be done only at the compile time. During the execution time, it does not check the code. Okay, the entire code after being checked during the compilation, the whole code is sent to the machine, right? So during the execution, it does not check. Let us say, for example, there is some variable which is declared as, let us say, integer, but then you are giving some float kind of value or character kind of value. It does not check that. Yes or no? It does not check because it doesn't have any runtime mechanism, runtime checking mechanism. Compiled programming languages does not have the runtime checking mechanism. So because of which, what happens, though you give float or character kind, other kind of value for integer variable, it takes, but then it will have some kind of conversion called implicit type conversion, which you have studied as part of our syllabus, right? There are two types of conversions we find: implicit type conversion and explicit type conversion. Implicit, which is being taken care by the system itself, right? The programming environment itself, right? The language designer itself, right? User will not take care of it, which is said to be the implicit type conversion, right? That is even called as type coercion. Type coercion. So C++ is having the type coercion, implicit type conversion, right? But most of the interpreted programming language does not have this, right? There is explicit you have, right? It has to be converted explicitly. Why? Because in interpreted programming languages, before it is sending the code for execution, during the execution, it again checks the code. In interpreted, what happens? The code is going to be checked during the execution before it is being sent to the system for execution. Because of which, what happens, if, say, for example, you are trying to enter some float or character and for an integer variable, which is during the runtime, that value has been taken and then checked here before it is sent for the system for execution, right? Then immediately it raises an error, which is said to be the runtime error or exception kind of thing, right? Unless you have some kind of explicit conversion mechanism, system will not allow you to execute taking the different kind of values for the type which you have declared for it, right? So this is generally happen. So, but then in interpreted programming languages, most of the internet-based, like you can see JavaScript, Node.js, or React.js, or you'd say Python. Python is also interpreted programming language. Yes or no? It's a scripting based. It's also a script based, right? So all these languages actually taking care of this conversion with typeless data type being offered by them. It means if you look at Python is a typeless in the sense you don't mention the type of the variable. You just say where, that's it. In JavaScript also, React.js, if you see the latest one, which is in the market probably, FDP is running in our department, organized by our department, FDP. We are running, wherein we had one session in the morning, React.js. So if you see React.js, there also it's a typeless, right? You need not to mention the type. You just say where and just say x equal to 10. So if you give 10 value to x, then it will be treated as integer there. If you give let us say float value, it will be treated as float. if you give, well, it automatic takes care of by submitting by taking that respective values that you submit to the particular variable. So nowadays we can see internet-based programming languages are coming up with this kind of approach. Typeless in the sense it is taking care of converting into its respective one. It means that type conversion, right? The implicit type conversion, it is taking care of it, right? But otherwise, like Java, if you see Java, where you have explicit type conversion is required, right? Of course, C++ are having both implicit and explicit, both are available. For few it takes care of it, but for few it doesn't. So for few it doesn't take care, where we have to probably mention explicitly to convert it into that respective one, rather, right? So this is all you can probably see. Fine, the differences. This is one difference which I talked about. One difference which I have talked about is compiled programming languages are faster enough compared to interpreter, because the whole code is sent for execution at once. Okay, but coming to type conversion and type cohesiveness, right? Where interpreted is good, right? Interpreted, I can say, is a strongly typed programming language, right? Where you cannot pass different kind of values for some type which is already defined before, right? Unless you have proper type conversion mechanisms declared in your program, right? So that way it is restricting the user from giving different kind of values for a type which is already defined before. So that way I can say it is a strongly typed, right? So error-free, exception-free, reliable, the other way around I can say. It's more reliable, right? Compared to compiled kind of thing, right? This is another difference which we can rather say. And what else we can say? What are the other differences? Interpretation based is quite handy for a system, right? You don't need any further third party, provided that if you have that respective interpreter available, directly taken to the system, right? For example, in Java is a hybrid, I can say. Why? Because first you compile and then compile the code which you have UBC, you call it as, right, universal byte codes. So this can be interpreted on any JVM. A JVM is nothing but your interpreter, right? And this interpreter is equipped in all the browsers and in all operating systems. So that class when you run, right, that UBC when you run on any operating system or browser, it directly executes it, right? It takes that UBC and converts it into the machine dependent code and get it executed by the particular machine. Fine. So the interpreters which you probably find, like if you go to mobile, in mobile, if it is Android based one, right, where you have a Dalvik virtual machine. Dalvik virtual machine is it is a resemblance of the JVM basically, right? So any executable files, any class file, DLL files or dot class files, you can directly run. So basically, in Android, when you are doing some apps, how do you do that? Just generate some .bit files or dot class files, and then you deploy in Android operating system. The JVM will take care of executing all that, right? So from the user point of view, it is quite handy to implement the applications, and it has been more prominently preferred on internet kind of, where on internet you need all the execution and probably the memory allocation, memory requirement, all that is required during the runtime, right? So interpretation based languages are good enough, and they are being used on internet. You can say that. Fine. So 13 students. Yes, you are not interacting. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
You can ask the questions. We can probably solve it. Anyway, coming to grammar. For grammar, I have detailed videos you can probably go through. And see, this review session I am conducting because within 1 hour I cannot complete the entire syllabi. We have covered it over a semester in about 40 to 45 classes rather, right? So I want some input from your side. If you have any doubts on that particular topic, I can probably have a discussion, right? Otherwise, I just have to take a glance of all the questions. Yes, you are not responding. Grammar. See how to derive the grammar. We have detailed lectures available. Left derivation, right derivation, ambiguous grammar. Right? This grammar is an ambiguous. We call it as. Yes or no? Why? Why do you call this as an ambiguous grammar? When you find the LHS is available on both left and right operands, okay, you say it is a ambiguous grammar because you will be able to generate how many trees? 2 trees, with one with left derivation, another with right derivation, right? So when you have more than 1 tree, it means when you are able to generate 2 trees, then which one is to be taken is a ambiguity, right? Rather, right? Such kind of grammar are said to be ambiguous grammar. So how do you overcome this? We will have to replace one of the operand with another term. Instead of having this left side, you have a, right? Can you see? Yes, can you see here, left side, you find A. A is the non-terminal here. And this is, you can see the same available on the left operand and the right operand. So when you go with left derivation, you expand this first, then you get 1 tree. If you go with right derivation, you expand this first, so you get another tree, right? So you are able to get 2 trees. Yes, sir. So when you are able to generate two different trees, then such kind of grammar is said to be the ambiguous grammar. So what is that you have to do then? You have to replace one of this A with another term, right? Solution for this I have discussed, and in those keys also this question was mentioned, for which the solution is available in that key, right? Here there is another question which is given: using the grammar, show a parse tree for the following statement. These are the statements given: A equal to B plus C plus A. How do you generate the parse trees using this grammar for this particular statement? Let me derive the parse tree. So you start with assign, right? So this assign is defined to be A equal to A. You say A equal to, then you say A, right? Then here what do you need? And on the left hand side you need A, and on the right hand side you need to expand it to B plus C plus A. So this has to be expanded with A, B plus C plus C. For that you have to take which definition? This A non-terminal has been defined with 3 definitions: plus, into, parenthesis, and T. TW. So which one you will go with? You will go with this, right? A plus T, right? A plus T. Yes or no? So then you need to have here again further to be defined with the same place. There are two place operations. So one place is available, another place you need. So again, you go with the same definition for this A, right? A plus T. Yes or no? And now, in place of this A, what do you get? You need to have B here. So this has to be defined with T, non-terminal, and this T non-terminal is defined with A, B, C as terminal. So you can take any of this definition. You can take A or B or C. This is a vertical bar stands for or. So I can go with B here. I wanted to have this particular tree, so I'll go with B. And for this particular tree, again, I have three options, but then now to get this particular statement to be derived with the help of this tree, which one I have to go with? I have to go with C. So this T will be derived to be C. So I got B plus C plus, and this T has to be derived with A in order to get this particular statement, right? So now you can see my statement A equal to, and here this A has to be what? Again A. For that, this A has to be derived to be T, and then it has to be derived to be A. Now you can see my tree A equal to B plus C plus A. This is the parse tree, right? Generated for this particular statement using this grammar. This is how you have to do it. Is it clear to all of you? The syntax analyzer will generate the parse tree that we have discussed as part of the compiled implementation, right? The different steps that you have in compiled implementation, in which there is a step where we are generating the parse tree, right? I hope it's clear. Similarly, you can derive a parse tree for A equal to A plus B within parenthesis into C, right? Using the grammar. Yes, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So please respond me, because I don't know, because very few students are there. I don't know when the other will lift. I may be just going with my own, speed. You please stop me if probably have any doubt or not. So I hope you can generate the tree for this. Yes or no? Can you generate? How do you generate for this? You want me to show, or you can do it? Yes? Please.
You can do it, sir.
You'll do it, right?
Okay.
So this is the grammar for which you want to show that it is ambiguous. How do you show that this is ambiguous? You take one statement. I'll show you. Shall I erase this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let us take this 12th example. He's saying this is ambiguous. How do you identify any grammar is ambiguous? When you find LHS is available on the left and right part of binary operator. You can see here. Fine. So in that situation, it definitely leads to two, parse trees. So I'll do one thing. I'll take a statement called A plus B plus C. Okay. Let us take this A plus B plus C. How can we able to generate two parse trees for this? Yes, I am generating a parse trees using left derivation first. S is derived to be A here, and A is derived to be A plus A, I should say. Yes or no? A plus A. Then this A has to be, if I expand this first, there are two options. Till here, I'll find the same tree in right derivation also. But then from here, my tree is going to be changed. Which one I am going to expand? Because I have two place. One place I'll get it. But then if I have to get another place, this place I can get by expanding either this expression or this expression. Yes or no? If I expand this, okay, in order to get another place, I have to take the same definition, that is a plus a. Right? This is said to be what? Left derivation, right? If I expand this first, that is the right side, I'll get another 3. But with both, I'll be able to, determine this particular statement. Okay, so let us try. You can see it's a mirror image, right? But they are not equal. Yes or no? Because here I am expanding left first, here I am expanding right first, right? Now let us look at, in order to get a plus b plus c through this, this a has to be now expanded to id, right? I should take this as id. And this id can be further derived to be a, b, c. But in order to get this statement, this id has to be defined to be a here. And this a has to be defined with id, and this has to be defined with b. So that a plus b. Then this has to be defined with id, and this id has to be defined with c. So that I'll get a plus b plus c. So I got 1 tree, right? And here, this a, I can define it with the id, and then this will be defined with a, and this a will be defined with id, and then will be defined with b, and this will be defined with id, and this will be defined with c. Now you can see a plus b plus c. I am able to get a plus b plus c with this tree. I am able to get same a plus b plus c with this tree. Are these two equal? Any one of you? Can any one of you tell me, are these two equal? Yes?
Yes, sir, both are same, but derivation method.
Derivation is different, but computer does not understand that. It's a mirror image, yes or no? But it does not, it may treat that, they are different, right? So when it is able to generate more than one parse tree, which one has to be sent for execution will be in a confusion. Then it will leave that rather, right? So this kind of grammar is said to be the ambiguous. When you say ambiguity, or when do you say it is ambiguous? When you are in a confusion, right? When you are in a confusion, which one has to take? So since you are able to generate 2 trees for the same by deriving with left and right, lead the system in a confusion to choose which one out of it is what's said to be the ambiguous grammar. So in order to overcome that, what you have to do, you have to replace one of this expression with the another non-terminal. Got it? It means this grammar, what is the grammar here? You said S, right? S defines to be A, we said, and A defines to be A plus A, right? You will get one question definitely on ambiguous grammar and grammar. Grammar, there will be a definite one question, right? A plus A, okay, but then I want it to be replaced. So instead of A, I will go here with either ID, I can say it is ID, okay, ID plus A, I say. Then it becomes non-ambiguous, got it? Or you can say this A has to be replaced with ID. Either or, there are 2 solutions. I hope you may understand. This is solution 1. Solution 2 is A has to be defined with this, right? And I. Now replace this statement with either this or this, and then generate, you will be able to get only one tree. Yes or no? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Please respond. Yeah. So this is about, shall I erase this?
Yes, sir. So one small doubt, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I'm having PPTs and PDFs along with these assignment questions, sir. Oh, like from where should I start? Should I start with assignments or directly from the PDF?
you solve all the assignment questions. That
Okay.
is enough for your preparation. Assignment 1, 2, and there is a one question bank also which I have uploaded, which is covering, of course, all these assignment questions. But in addition to these assignments, if you have any extra questions in the question bank, you please solve those as well. First, you solve assignment 1, assignment 2. These two first you solve. Okay. And if any other questions are there in the question bank, you solve it. And if you have still further time, you can just go through all the previous year question paper that I have published. Mostly you find that they are covered in your assignments and question bank. But if there are any new questions, you please solve. And if you have any doubts, you can always get back to us. So WhatsApp or because anyway this week we are conducting classes, so during the classes also you can ask the questions. Yes, I hope it is clear to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, 13th question here. Compute the weakest precondition for each of the following statement and post condition. How do you calculate weakest precondition? What is the minimum value which satisfies this particular statement is what said to be the weakest precondition. Here you can see A equal to 2 into B minus 1 minus 1 and A greater than 0. Right? Greater than 0 in the sense you can take 1, 2, 3, anything. You substitute some value with A equal to 2 and then see here what do you get. 2 into take 2 A equal to 2 and then B equal to 1 you can take, no issue, right? Because if you take 0, what happens? 1 if you take it will be 0, 0 minus 1 is going to be minus 1. Then in that situation A is not greater than 0. So B equal to 1 you cannot take. Yes or no? Let us take 2. A equal to 2, B equal to 2 I have taken. Okay. If I take B equal to B equal to 2, then what happens? Here 2 into B minus 1 means 2 minus 1 minus 1, right? 2 minus 1 is 1, 1 into 2 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 is nothing but greater than 0. Yes or no? So taking A equal to 2, B equal to 2, you are able to prove that A greater than 0. Right? So what is the weakest precondition? Compute the weakest precondition. So what is the weakest precondition if you are asked? Then the values with A equal to 2, B equal to 2 you are able to prove, right? See, these are the values which you take only when you are able to solve the statement, right? So those values are said to be your preconditions. And then when you are substituting and solving, you have to ensure that A greater than 0 must have to be met. This is the post condition here, right? A must have to be always greater than 0. So you can see A is greater than 0. This whole is nothing but A itself, right? So which I have got as 1, which is nothing but greater than 0. So I am able to get, I am able to meet the post condition with the precondition values of A equal to 2, B equal to 2. Yes, sir. Then I can say these are the precondition. But then I am asked to find out the weakest in the sense minimum. This is itself the minimum I can say. If I take from here more than, let us say A equal to 3 if I take, right? A equal to 3 and B equal to 2 if I take, what do you get? You can see here 2 into see, forget about here. I need only A value, sorry, B value. So don't take A. Sorry, huh?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, let me complete here. I have only B in this A equal to 2 into B minus 1 minus 1. Fine. In this, in order to get the A value, okay, I need only B value. So here precondition is B, not A, right? So I can take B equal to 4. If I take B equal to 4, what do you get? You can see here 2 into 4 minus 1 minus 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. 2 into 3 minus 1 is going to be 6 minus 1, it's going to be 5, which is greater than 0. It means 4 also fine, is also good, it is satisfying. If I take 3 also, then it's satisfied. If I take 2 also, is satisfying. Yes or no? We have seen 2 into 2 minus 1 minus 1. 1 into 2 minus 1, that is nothing but 1 greater than 0. Because when you substitute the value of A, you are able to obtain, and that value of A must have to be greater than 0, right? Got it? So here till from 2 till 4 you are able to, it means from 2 till any bigger value of B you are able to satisfy. But if I take B equal to 1, are you able to satisfy? If you take B equal to plus 1,
Okay.
you don't get the value which is greater than 0 rather, right? 2 into B means 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is going to be 0, right? So this is 0. 0 minus 1 is going to be minus 1. Minus 1, is it greater than 0? No. It means 1 I cannot take. Plus 1 I cannot take. When I cannot take plus 1, obviously plus 1, from plus 1, whatever the lesser values you have, minus 1, 0 and all, you can't take. Yes or no? So this cannot be considered to be the precondition values. So precondition values will be from 2, 3, 4 and higher than that. Then what is the minimum out of it is nothing but 2. So then this is the weakest form, right? Yeah, someone was asking some question.
Yeah. When it comes to minimum, sir, you are saying 2 no, sir, just now.
Yes, yes.
So what if we take 2 into B minus 1 greater than 0? RHS greater than 0.
No, here you are given already the post condition. A greater than 0. A greater than 0. This has to satisfy.
Yes, sir. If we replace A with the RHS value, sir, in the A greater than 0, we'll get B greater than 3 by 2. Will that be the
that is also good. That is a minimum value, right?
Yes,
yeah. In order to solve that, you can solve this. You may have solved it in intermediate or your mathematics classes. You get this in equation and inequations.
Yes, sir.
Right? Equations, and that way also you can solve it. This is one way I have shown you. This is a substitution method, if you call it as. Another way of solving is what you are calling is nothing but inequation methods, right? So you are saying like this: 2 into B minus 1 minus 1. This must have to be greater than 0. Yes.
Yes.
So then what do you get? Right? 2 into B minus 1 you send there. You will get like this, right? 2 into B minus 1 greater than 1 will get. Then 2 when you send there, B minus 1 greater than, is going to be 1 by 2 here. Then you will send this minus 1 there, then it will be plus 1. So it will be 1 plus 1 by 2. Yes or no? So this is what you are saying, right?
Yes, sir. This
is
one.
going to be 3 by 2. So this must be the weakest precondition, right? So 3 by 2. But then I am able to get 1 now. Sorry, 2 I said. Here I am able to get 2. When I am going with substitution method, I am going with whole values, I am getting it as 2. But if you are considering the integers, integer includes everything, right?
Yes,
Since it was not mentioned AB or whether integer or whole numbers, if it is whole number, B equal to 2 must be correct. Yes or no?
Yes.
But if it is integer, greater than 3 by 2. Greater than 3 by 2 in the sense after 1.5 anything else, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, that is also correct. So since there is no category of AB mentioned, both the answers are correct. You can go with B equal to 2 or you can go with B greater than 3 by 2. Right? So this one is also fine. Yes. Next one, we have 14th question. Convert the following expression into prefix and postfix. If you have some expression like this, I'll take the same expression and show you. B minus C into B. You have after this a lunch time, no? I can extend for about 10 minutes.
Sir, in 13th question, can you do that inequality once using inequality, sir? 13th
Yeah,
question.
you can. Yes. You can go with inequality also. Yes.
We are having their A, no, sir, again repeating. A plus 2 into B minus 1 in right hand side. There will have some issues, sir. We need to take assumption
You
of.
need to take both assumptions, A and both B. Yes.
Yeah.
Substitution method or that solving method, both are okay. Fine. Let us take this expression plus G you have, right? This expression you have A plus B minus C into D by within brackets E minus F plus C by this is your infix expression, yes or no? Now if you are asked to convert it into prefix or postfix, let us go with prefix first, okay? So what do you mean by prefix? Yes. If I have a simple expression like this, A plus B, this is infix. This is how we write in mathematics. But in prefix, what do? You write the operator first and then you write the operands. So while writing the operand, first left operand, then you write the right operand, means plus AB. This is the prefix equivalent of the A plus B of infix expression. Yes or no? But then expression is a bigger one where you have multiple operators. When you have multiple operators, you have to go with order of precedence. We have studied this order of precedence in precedence rules, right, of operators. So when you have multiple operators, you will have to go with order of precedence. So order of precedence has to be set. See, all the language designers, they will set the order of precedence. But most of the designers, if you can see, they will follow a rule which I am discussing the same here, right? Parenthesized one will be given more priority. And then, if you have exponential kind, that will be given. Then if you have into, divide, mod, they will be given next priority. Then plus minus will be given the next priority. And then finally you have the equal, right? Assignment. You have equal is nothing but a relation operators, right? So all relation operators comes after the arithmetic operators, right? So you can see based on the operators which I have in my expression, I have set the precedence rules here. If you see here in this category, into, divide, mod, all three are in the same category. It means three of them are having equal priority. So when you have equal priority operators, which one has to be again calculated first? Is going to be based on what? Precedence rules, right? Yes? Precedence rules. We call it as precedence rule. We have, there are అక్కడ 102 and IT HOD.
IT HOD ఇంకోటి
102. Staff room అనుకోండి. So precedence rules here, basically there are, see when you have this kind of issue, when you have multiple operators with the equal precedence, you have to follow the associativity. These are said to be the precedence rules, right? When you have equal precedence in the equal priority operators in the same expression, then you go with associativity rules. We call it as associativity rules. So there are two associativity rules we have. One is left associativity, another one is right associativity. Right. So the language designers, while they are designing their programming language, they'll choose. But most of the designers, they go with left associativity rules, right? For all the operators. For all the operators, they go with the left associative, except the exponential. For exponential, they follow the right associativity. Now, let us come to what is left associativity. Left associativity means whoever comes first when you are traversing from the left onward. This is left, right? This is left. This is right. Yes or no? So from left, when you are traversing, whoever comes first, you will evaluate that first, which is said to be left associativity. Right associativity in the sense that you traverse from right to left. If you have equal precedence operator, especially for exponential, this right associativity will be applied. It means when you have two exponential operators, which one is going to be evaluated first? From the right onwards, you will evaluate, right? From the right, whichever comes first, you will evaluate that. Next, you take the other one, right? By traversing from right to left. But otherwise, for all the operators, left associativity rule applies. Okay, except the exponential. Got it? So, is that clear to all of you? Yes. Please interact with me in between. So these are the things you have to keep in mind while converting the expressions as well, right? From infix to prefix. So now let us look at this expression a plus b minus c into d and all. So which one I have to evaluate first? That one is going to be converted first, right? So higher priority operator here we have is the parenthesized one, that is e minus f. So first we will convert this. I will consider that as the part one. So I have explained you by segregating in parts to make you better rather, right? So consider this part as the first one. So in first step, what is the operator you are going to convert? That is minus available in parentheses. So converting this expression, if you take a small, then it will be easy for you. So what is the procedure from infix to prefix? When you are converting an expression from infix to prefix, what do? You first write the operator, then you write the left operand, then you write the right operand. So for e minus f, what is that I have to do? First write the operator, that is minus, then what is the left operand, that is e, and what is the right operand, that is f, right? So done. So this has now become an operand. So once it is evaluated, it becomes what? This entire part one becomes one value or one operand, right? This becomes right operand for this by. Yes or no? Or left operand for this plus. But whether you take this as the left for the plus or right for the by is going to be decided based on the order of precedence and associativity rules. Yes or no? Because there are two possibilities. Now this can go here as a right or here as a left. But which one has to be done? That has to be decided by the programming language rules, right? Which are nothing but precedence rule and associativity rules, right? So now the next operator to be evaluated after parentheses, if you see, we have into divide, right? Both are having equal precedence. Now the associativity rule applies. So which one you go with? Left associativity. It means from this into divide, which one has to be evaluated first? Into. When you go with into, right, I treat this as the part 2, right? So in part 2, in the second step, I am trying to convert this into expression. So this into left operand will be what? C, obviously, right? And what is the right operand? That is T. So this is my part 2. Next, this whole now has become a value. It's nothing but 2, I can say, right? I don't now pronounce it as C into D. Instead, I say just 2, right? This whole I am saying it as 1, right? Now, what is the next operator to be evaluated? You can see plus, minus, divide is left, and plus is left. So out of this, higher precedence is, of course, by. So I'll go with by then, right? So this by is being operated on 2 and 1. Yes or no? So 2 is one operand for by, which is nothing but the left operand, and 1 is another operand, which is nothing but the right operand for by, right? So you can see in this I am saying it as step 3. So in step 3, I am converting this by operation into prefix. So how do you write? You write the first operator, that is nothing but by, and then you write the left operand, right operand. What is the left operand? Part 2. What is part 2? Into CD. And what is the right operand here? That is 1. 1 is nothing but minus EF, right? So this is the entire part 3. So after it has been evaluated, this whole become a value. So what are the operators left to be now converted? Plus, minus, and plus. And you can see all these are having equal precedence. And they go with left associativity. So it means whoever comes first from the left when you traverse will be converted first or evaluated. So A plus B has to be converted next. So this I am taking it as step 4, right? So in step 4, I am converting this plus expression. So this plus, I'll write the operator first, then you write the left operand and the right operand. Yes or no? So this has now become a value after being evaluated. So what are the operators left to be now converted? Minus and plus. So both are having equal precedence. So I will go with left associativity rule. So minus comes first. So this I am considering it as step 5. So in step 5, I am converting the expression minus. So this minus having left operand as 4, and what is the right operand? That is 3. Yes or no? So minus, for minus, what is the left operand? This whole has become a value now. So that is step 4. That is plus AB. And What is the right operand for this minus? Step 5. So what is the right operand for this minus? Which is nothing but step 3. Step 3 is what? By into CD minus EF. Fine. So this whole has now become a value. Got it? So what are the operators left? Only one operator, that is plus. Plus operator is left, right? So that you are going to convert. I am saying it in step 6. So that I am converting it in step 6, right? So how do you write? You write the operator first, that is plus, and then you write the entire left operand. What is the left operand? That is 5. And the right operand is G. So 5 is the left operand, which is nothing but minus plus AP by into CD minus EF. This whole is step 5. This is nothing but a value after being evaluated. Then that is nothing but the left operand for plus, and the right operand is G. So right operand is, this is the prefix conversion of this given expression. I hope you understand. Yes. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Similarly, you do it for postfix. In postfix, what do you do? In postfix, you write the operator first. Okay. For example, a plus b, if you have for a plus b, you first write the operands and then write the operators. So what are the operands you have? Left operand A and right operand B. Then you write the operator. This is how the postfix conversion you do, right? When you have A plus B as an input expression, the equivalent postfix expression of this is nothing but what? Writing the operands first, then the operator. When you write the operands, you first write the left operand, then you write the right operand, then you write the operator. So A plus B will be converted into postfix with AP plus, right? And the rules are same. When you have multiple operators, you have to go with order of precedence, and when you have multiple operators with equal precedence, then you have to go with associativity rules. And associativity rules are, of course, left associativity is going to be applied for all the operators except the exponential. Same kind of scenario you have to follow. So I hope you can convert this into postfix. Yes or no? Going stepwise manner, that will make you, at the initial stage, perfect in getting the right form of it. So once you get perfect, you can directly also tell. But when you have multiple operators, it is better if you go with stepwise manner. You don't do a mistake, right? Is it clear to all of you? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. For these as well, videos are available. You can probably go through again if you want, right? If you have further doubts, even after this class. So similarly, you can do for the rest. We can expect question on this also, right? Conversion of.
Sir, in prefix and postfix, we just need to write one line answer, or we need to write the process?
No. You have to derive all this as I have shown, because it's a long question. If it is a short question under 2 marks, if it is asked, then okay. But you have to show the stepwise manner. You have to explain the same. What is that you have applied at step 1? If you have applied precedence rule, or you have applied associativity rule, you mentioned there. Okay.
Can you use that output stack and operator stack, that method, sir?
That way also you can do it, but then this way is also fine. You see, stack method not required, because people may think that you are going with some kind of algorithm. Then you must have to write that algorithm. This is a simple method, manual method. Just mention that step 1. If you have multiple operators, precedence rule is applied. And what is the precedence rule? See, if the precedence rule he has given, order precedence if he has given, then fine. Otherwise, you have to mention the order of precedence. Okay. As I have mentioned no order of precedence here. So take the order of precedence first. Mention that this is the order of precedence, and then say that associativity rule. We have taken left associativity for all except the exponential. For exponential, it is right. You mention that in the theoretical way, right? And then you can go with the derivation of the same while converting from postfix stepwise. That will reflect the knowledge that you have gained out of it while solving it. If you are directly giving the answer, they may think that you have copied it from someone else, right? If it is a simple 1 mark question, that's fine. But if it is a long question, you'll have to derive and then completely show. Okay.
Okay.
And the rest, of course, we'll discuss in the next class.